Welcome to Celia Trillion.
Hey,
How are you?
I'm so good.
I'm so happy we're doing this.
I know.
I know it's the first time we're really doing anything together.
I know.
That's crazy. We've known each other for how long?
At least 15 years.
A lifetime ago.
A lifetime.
I think I had pink hair when we met.
Oh my
at the
God,
time.
you did. Wow. I had blonde hair, so.
Yeah, those were the days.
I think I also had a reverse ombre at one point.
You for sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you for sure. I mean,
blonde
I think
and then black.
I was blonde.
Yeah.
After. And then I did purple. I mean, I was going through it. I really wanted to express myself.
We were all going through it.
Yeah, with all the choices. I feel like you can tell what year it was based on.
Oh my God. I don't ever want to see those photos. Yeah. Thank God social media wasn't really a thing.
We're so lucky.
I know.
We really are like the last generation that like gets to enjoy social media, but got their 20s off of social media.
Yeah,
so there's no receipts for us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Facebook albums, but like we probably that was an edited version of it.
I'm like, my Facebook is private, so no one can see that.
I tried to download. Like, have you ever tried downloading the photo? Like, it was such a horrible process to download all the images of Facebook that's why I still even have them there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was like, I don't want to have any albums. I don't want to do anything. Because I was like super geek and I used to like bring a camera with me. Pre-Instagram era here. And like, I would just take photos of everyone and then upload them and like whatever. But like a physical big camera because I wanted to be able to like take good photos in my mind.
I think the best one was MySpace. It was really good. Did you have MySpace?
Yeah, of course I did. I don't remember my name on it though.
I don't know.
Adam was telling me he like knew his name, how he like. My husband was saying that he used to approach girls. He would know who was new in the area, and then that's how I was like.
I got two boyfriends off MySpace.
Really?
Yeah.
They messaged you?
Yeah.
I mean,
I did one I messaged.
Oh.
I was very bold. Yeah. So.
I was so bad. I feel like I was so shy in like social settings that like I was the first one to be doing online apps when it was just not cool. You know what I mean? And I was just like, fuck. Like Match.com, and I was like, well, I'm not really that engaging in person because I get super shy. So I was like, what's the best way to do this? But I didn't want to tell people because then that would be weird. Because like losers are on dating apps, and I was supposed to be cool, right? So I was like, this is not good. This is not good.
I love it.
Oh, I know. Social media has definitely come a long way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And in the meantime, you became like a social media personality. Which is,
I always say like I'm like an accidental influencer. Like I didn't realize that Instagram was gonna be what it is.
Yeah.
You know, I used the nickname that my mom gave me when I was a child.
Oh, that's Lanzy Bear.
That's what Lanzy Bear is. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. So I just thought like, oh, you just do your nickname and like I'm gonna post like some black and white photos of things. Something like my shoes.
Yeah.
And like my food and then all of a sudden I was like, oh, people care? Cool.
I feel like it also seems like a constant kind of like in your life, all these accidental things, right?
Yes.
Because you became an activist accidentally, like a model accidentally, like also not at the age, like, you know?
Yeah,
so it really seems like a very common thread that you're like, I'm just existing over here.
Well, I just kind of say yes to things. So I feel like that's why I like fall into new fun stuff.
Do you think that's a secret?
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about just like kind of going with the flow. Not everyone can do that. I feel like that's also a result of my privilege, you know, to be able to have like done cool things because I just wanted to.
But I feel like something that most people don't know because they see that you come from privilege, right? And like, obviously your father is who your father is and like stuff like that. But like, truth be told, when I met you, you were working retail.
Oh, yeah.
Like, in the store every day. Like, she was the person helping you find your jean size, right? And I came from privilege in a very different way where I was, like, very spoiled.
Yeah.
And I keep telling Adam, like, my husband and I talk about this a lot because I really admire the way that your parents raised you, all of you.
Yeah.
Because you could all be, like, drug addicts, brats, like, you know what I mean? And you all are, like, the kindest people. Like, you're always on time. Like, even as a friend, but also, like, you know, like, I know people that work with you, and there's never an element of, like, ego or that you, like, think that you're better than anyone.
Thank you.
Like, at what age do you even start working?
I mean, I worked at Pacific Sunwear. Word up, Pacific Sunwear, when I was, like, I think I was 16. I think I started working when I was 16. and then yeah, like I consistently had jobs.
So your parents told you have to work, and was it something that it was born for you, or because they were not just giving you?
I don't know if they like necessarily were like you have to work, but I think that we experienced work ethic, and that it just kind of seemed like something you should do. You know, I wanted my own money.
Yeah,
I wanted my own things to do, and that was the way you do it. So we had jobs.
Yeah,
my sister had a job in high school. Like I had a job all through college. I had a full-time job all through college.
Or like I was talking. We did like a Joe Dispenza this weekend, and we were at USC, and like we're walking around, and I'm like, oh, I miss college. Like I love college, right? Yeah. And I was told that my job was to study, and because I'm South American, there is a negative connotation of you and working.
Yeah.
If your family is okay, not even rich, but like just okay, right? So I was never told that work was a thing until you finish college, right? So I never really worked. Now I feel differently, and I would want different for my kids, but I just didn't know what I didn't know. Yeah. So my job was to study, and I was just looking at these kids, I'm like, they're reading books, and it's so nice, and no one is bothering them, and that's all they need to do. Maybe they work out. Yeah. And like, there's no responsibility. And another is like, I had a full-time job the whole time I was in college. I was never just reading books. Like, I had to like pay my And I was like, oh wow, we really had a different
I have to be honest. Like, I was lucky. My parents paid for college. Yeah. They paid for everything, but I like to work. Like, I found a job, and I was like, oh great, this is going to be awesome. And I worked, all through college. I actually stayed with that job for 6 months afterwards because I was working on a project. Mm-hmm. Basically, it was a development firm, and I was
so random.
Yeah, it was super random, but it was actually really cool. The development firm was building apartments like catered towards students. So I was helping. I actually got a few of my friends also hired. And we were helping to design them so they would be like student friendly. We did all the marketing. I created all these like pool parties basically before the place was actually built.
So you did Revolve like trips even before.
Yes, I was doing influencers.
Yeah, before the influencer era over here.
Yeah, it was really fun. Yeah, I mean, it was great. And so I stayed with them for another like 6 months after I graduated, and then moved to LA, and I started a business right out of college.
What was it?
It was a t-shirt line. Better Bacon. I don't know if you remember it.
That's true. You had many fashion brands by now too.
Yeah, it's right out of college. It was t-shirts. All the art was done by young adults, kids, and adults with learning disabilities. And we didn't do it. Wasn't a charity. Yeah. They were all artists. And we
just wanted to highlight them. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Did you start at Curve, and then from Curve you ended up like into fashion, or like was it the other way around?
No, so like
Curve is the boutique that she used to work.
Yeah, I was in fashion. No, so I was into fashion.
Yeah,
I wasn't like immersed into fashion, but I was definitely into fashion. I had a art gallery that I ran, and then it was closing. And it was literally across the street from Curve. And I walked over and said, hey, can I have a job?
In the golden era.
Yes.
Favorite son.
Yes.
Where everyone used to get their photo taken. Remember
yes.
those days?
The Ivy, 100%.
God.
So, so I just walked in and was like, can I have a job? And I went through the whole, process. Even though I knew the owner, I interviewed multiple times. And then she gave me a job. And it was cool because it was retail, but also personal shopping.
Yeah.
So I had clients, I would personal shop for them. I would style whole outfits. It was actually really fun. And that kind of definitely really got me into fashion. I understood designers better. I understood
also what sells. Right?
Yeah.
Because you're I'm working in the film.
Yes.
So fit.
Exactly.
And all this other.
And then I, from there, started a clothing company.
And then you closed the last one though, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was good. That was really good.
I know.
I'm sad.
I know.
And then you managed to get it into Bertha too.
It was everywhere. We were all over. We were in a bunch of different countries. We were
super fast.
It grew super fast. It wasn't really manageable, and honestly, it was kind of going in a direction that I think if I wanted to keep it going, I wouldn't have been fulfilled.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really designing the way I wanted to design. I was designing for the buyers, and it wasn't what I wanted anymore.
I feel like that's the catch-22 also, right? Like you want to do something creative, and then people resonate with it, and then you then like, you know, start selling to stores. But in order to like be able to like make those quantities and like have a company running with those budgets, then you really need to be catering for these people, and it's just not.
No, it's not as fun. It wasn't like fulfilling me like in my soul, like for what I wanted, and I wanted to be able to make what I want. And I think that is truly like what ends up stunting designers.
Yeah,
is, you know, they want to make what they want, but of course there's a market that you have to market to.
It's a business,
and
right?
So it's like you have to make a decision. Are you catering to them, or are you making what you want and hoping that they kind of come to you?
Yeah.
There's, you know, there are definitely designers that are designing for their buyers, and then there are designers who are just designing.
Not right now. I feel like now with all the appointments and all the stuff, it's just become so obvious that it's just merchandising plan, and like everyone's gonna.
I mean, you know about that. You worked in fashion for.
It's sad. Like, I mean, I don't. Yeah, I work less on it now because I kind of got disenchanted, kind of like you did, and that's how even this idea of like ceiling trilling came about. I was like, okay, well, how do I fill my cup? Like, what's making me happy right now, right? And it was just like, well, my kids are making me happy, which is not what I anticipated happening, but it did. And I'm like, how can I make it cool? You know what I mean? How can I create a space that I feel like is more catered to me and the type of mom that I want to become, like, rather than just still focusing on something that I feel doesn't necessarily have a heart.
Yeah. I mean, I think in the same kind of vein, on the other end of it, like, I really am starting to kind of come into my own as far as my career.
Yeah.
And so I decided not to have kids.
You're engaged, though. Show the ring. Show the ring. It's a really good ring. It's a really good ring. He did a good job.
He did a good job.
I mean...
And he has a daughter.
But, like, did you always know that you didn't want...
No.
So you thought you wanted to have kids your whole life, bro?
Oh, yeah, my whole life. I 100% thought I was going to be a mother.
And is there a point? Is it now because where you are in life, or is it...
I think it's now. I think it's also, like, it's timing. The reality is I'm 41 years old, and not that you can't have kids. I have I have a friend who just had a kid at 43.
Yeah.
You can have kids until you're 50 now. Yeah. You know, that's not even a thing anymore. But I think where I am in my life, where I am in my career, the fact that I get to kind of be a mom because I have a stepdaughter and I'm fulfilled in that way, I think has changed a lot of my reality when it comes to having a child of my own.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, I had to grieve it, even though it's something I want. Like
what was that process like?
It was it's still a long process. I still sometimes cry about it, but I know it's what I want.
I feel like I had to grieve that process before I had kids because I was running out of time, and I was like, I need to come to terms with that. It might not happen for me, and like, how do I like go off that dream? Because I didn't want to have kids by myself.
Yeah.
I wanted a family, right?
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not gonna do that by myself. I'm not gonna just, you know, I admire all the women that are doing that, like, or single moms. It's just.
I think it's amazing, and you never know. Also, like, there's
your situation later, you also never know. But it wouldn't be my choice to like do that from that at the very beginning. You know what I mean? And I feel that a lot of people also like started putting all these things on me. I remember like I was in Paris one time and I was with two friends and they didn't realize.
Of course.
But then they were like, well, yeah, they were complaining about being moms and they were like, yeah, but like at the end of the day, otherwise, like, who's going to take care of you when you're old? And like, you know, that's where you're really getting it from. And I'm like, I am right here, single as it can be. And I wish I could be a mom, but I'm not a mom. Yeah. And like, you're literally telling me I'm going to be alone?
Yeah.
And
no one's going to take care of you when you're old?
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And even from now, like, from a political standpoint, especially with the current government, like, making doxxing at women, I feel like there's this idea that in order for women to care about the world, they need to procreate. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I mean, people think that by not having children, you're selfish. I mean, I've had that. That is like a notion I've heard from very many women. I have now a lot of friends who are couples and, you know, single women who've decided they don't want to have kids. It's not for me. It's not what I want. And it's, you know, that is a major decision. You are bucking a lot of like very large and well conceived and long held notions of what it is to be a woman. And so a lot of people are like offended by it. But it's a decision that you make. It's your decision. And it does have something to do with like this idea that it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice to be a mother.
Yeah.
For some people, it's not.
Yeah.
It's a choice to not be a mother. And it's for some people, it's not.
Do you think it's a choice that you make after you met your fiance?
It was after.
After.
Yeah.
Because that's what he wanted?
No, I mean, I think...
Or you had a conversation?
I think it was more of a conversation, and it was more like, where are we right now? Like, listen, if I got pregnant tomorrow, would I keep it? Probably.
Yeah.
Do I know whether or not I would? I don't know. I don't know where I would be on the day. I don't know how I would feel. I have definitely like come to terms with the idea, and it's not because it's being forced on me. It's because really I'm not in a place in my life. I'm in a place in my life where like I think I deserve to be selfish. I have my career. I have the things, like I'm working towards things, and I feel like for me, taking the time to be pregnant, taking the time away from my work, giving of myself, like, you know, being a mom is giving of yourself. Yeah. And the truth is that I feel like I do also give of myself a lot. Yeah. You know, I work in, you know, I'm a human rights activist.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because you're saying selfish, and I'm like thinking in my mind, I'm like, you keep saying selfish, and I keep thinking, wait, but everything that you're doing is in a way so selfless.
Well, that's right? The point, is that I'm like, well, it's not that I would have to make a decision. There are people who are doing all of these things. I have a very good friend of mine who has 2 children, works in human rights, is doing all the things that I'm doing. Literally all the things that I'm doing. Writing a book, you know, she's an influencer, she's a human rights activist, all of the things I'm doing. Yeah. And she has 2 children. Yeah. Amazing. That's great for her. For me, I feel like I would not be able to take my brain away from my child to do all these other things. And I don't know that because I don't have a kid. Yeah. But I don't think I want to test the waters by having a child. I don't think that's fair to the child, you know, for me to be like, well, let me see. Let me see if that works out. Yeah. There are people who are like, I'm not sure how I feel about being a mom, but I'm going to have a kid just to find out, basically. Or because my husband or my boyfriend wants that, or, you know what I mean? Yes. And I feel like that. I'm sure there are people who don't have kids because that's what their partner also wants. Yeah. And that works both ways. I'm sure there are men who want kids and their you know, wife or whatever, or, you know, there's a man who wants a child and he's with another man and that man never wanted to have a child. And so like, I think that it's all encompassing, but for me specifically, like I am not on the path. Yeah, where that will be a priority. If the universe takes me there, then great. But it's just not a priority for me to like work it into my life. Well, yeah, your friend is doing that. There's other things that she's not doing, right? Yes. You have a limited amount of time in your day and energy. And in order for things to grow, you need to give it energy, right? Mm-hmm. So if you don't have the bandwidth for this because your priority is something else, not right or wrong, it's just basically like you have different priorities. Yeah. Because for me, for example, I really wanted kids, right? Like, I was literally the auntie that was like obsessed with all the other people's kids and stuff like that. So when I met my husband, I literally talked about kids like right away. And we met in August, and December I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, it's going to be really hard for you to have kids. And I didn't anticipate that being on the same trip that I take Adam for the first time. I didn't know that. Yes, I take him Adam to the first time. So I come back and I'm like, I'm tired. I'm cool. I'm not going to mention it. I'm not going to mention it. Fuck you. If you don't want to have kids with me, don't waste my time. And I went and I did this whole thing. Like, fuck. And so we really had to like have that conversation. I was like, do not fuck with my time. Like, you know, I am on a deadline. Yeah. Like, I need to do it now. Yeah. If I don't do it with you, I need to figure out someone else that will. At what point did you discuss that? Oh, we started talking about kids like, I mean, I was very intentional with my relationships, going forward from my last relationship. I was like, you know what? I'm not doing this whole thing where I beat around the bush. I asked him right away, like, would you get married again? Because he has been married before. I asked him that like maybe in our second conversation. Okay. Because I was like, I do want to get married. Yeah. That's important to me. I asked him, would you have another child?
Yeah.
And he said, with the right person, yes. So like, it was not like ever off the table for him, and I just like acquiesced.
Yeah.
It was just like, this is our life, this is the timing, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
He's in school, he's going back to school, he's getting his master's degree, like, it's just, which is amazing. Yeah. I'm also in a new career and have a lot of other things happening for me that I feel like we're just not in the place. Now, again, in a year, 2 years, we might be in a different place, and I might be like, you know what, it's back on the table, or he might be like, it's back on the table. But right now, it's not, and I'm good with that. Like, I feel okay with it.
Do you think that the family dynamics that you grew up had an impact, and like, how does that impact your parent? Because you are parenting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, 100%. I think having known what it was like to be a stepchild gave me a view of what I wanted to give to her as a stepmother. Yeah. And I mean, we're technically not married, but I still consider myself her stepmom. You know, I also knew that like there was no way and place and time where I was ever going to try or want to be her mother figure. Yeah. But I know I'm part of her life. I mean, I'm with her every other week, and she's important to me. And I do think that like having had that kind of experience, it just shaped it framed it for me, in that like I realized how impactful
it can be for someone.
Yeah, step parents are parents. Yeah. You know, like I went to Hoffman. Yeah. In Hoffman, you have the option, if you want, you work through kind of your things and things with your parents. Yeah. And you have the option, if you want, to also work through things that you might have had with your step parents. Yeah. And it like, I don't think, like, I realized then how
it impacted
just how important it is to your, they're there through your formative years. I met her when she was 8. You know what I mean? Like, that's a formative time.
Especially for a girl.
Yeah. I mean, I think she was 8 at the time. Oh, I knew her. I think I met her right after her 9th birthday. But yeah.
Yeah, very pivotal.
Yeah. Like, it's a pivotal time. And so again, like, not for nothing, I do get to parent someone. Like, I am involved in a child's life, and I am getting to, be a part of that. And I like have so much respect for biological parents. Yeah. But, I also just want to be the best person in her life that I possibly can be. Yeah. And that's important to me. And I want to be, I don't want her to look back and be like, oh, like that wasn't,
that wasn't what I thought.
That wasn't what it was. Yeah. Or like to have a negative experience. So I'm very cognizant of that. And it's very important to me how I interact with her.
There's also an element of choice, right? Because sure, you're choosing your boyfriend or fiance, but you're choosing that family, right? Knowing her, right? Because I don't know what my son was going to be like.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, right? So it's very much of an active choice. I choose to be in your life, so how am I going to show up for you?
He was also very intentional with that. Like, I know people, and there's nothing wrong with this, but I know people who are just like, when they start dating someone right away, their kids are around them. And again, there's no right or wrong way to do it. I feel like there are some people who do that and it works out amazing, and there are some people who do that and it's horrible. Yeah. And I'm sure there are people who are intentional and it's also horrible. I don't know. But I didn't meet her for probably the first, I think, like 9 months of our relationship. Yeah. Something like that, 8 or 9 months. So she knew I existed. She knew that after, we had been dating for a while. Yeah. She knew I existed. She knew that that her dad was dating me. But I didn't meet her until he was like 100% sure. Because, and I think that was, at that point, I was dying to meet her. You know what I mean? I mean, not that I wasn't from the beginning, but like, I was like, I want to be a part of all of this, all of his life, and to know she's the biggest person in his life.
Exactly. So how can you show up for that? Yeah.
So it definitely changed the depth of our relationship when I started coming around her and being able to be around her, and we got along really well, and it was.
I really respect that he waited that long.
I respect it too. It was a big selling point for me that he was so intentional. He was intentional with our dating process. He was intentional with all of it. He's definitely like, he came into our relationship at whatever, level he was coming in with a lot of thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom had a boyfriend for a prolonged period of time,
totally.
but I was like older. She didn't think about us before introducing us. I found that on TV. So it was just like a very not good situation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we never really integrated because it started so wrong also.
Yeah.
That he was not a good person, at least in my opinion. But even if he would have been, it would have already like started negatively because it was being forced on me.
Yeah.
I think that is so commendable that he took that time, because I'm sure also like you fall in love and like it's such a overcoming like emotion that you're like you want to bring them everywhere and you want to do everything for them, and it must have taken a lot for him to like be like, nope, let's wait, let me make sure, and let me be actually intentional about the whole situation, because the easiest thing is like, oh, I'm just gonna bring you with me.
Exactly. Like it's just another person that they're meeting.
You're like so horny and sexy and heavy at the beginning. You're like, I just want to be with you all the time. And he had his daughter every other week, so that's a lot of time that he didn't see you at the beginning too.
Oh, that was a big thing for me too. I was like, wow, I'm not, for the first 9 months that we were together, we only got to see each other every so often because he was with his daughter, and it was very important for me that he had that time. Like I never wanted to infringe on his free time with his daughter. Her. My mom was very much like that, though. My mom was very intentional with her dating when we were kids.
So she made it so you still always, because I didn't have that.
We were always like first.
Okay.
We were always first. It was always about us. It was always, and I don't know if that was like to the detriment of the relationships.
Yeah.
But I know that it didn't matter to her. Like if it did, we were the top priority, and to make us feel safe and comfortable. And I ended up, she also had a very long relationship while we were kids, and I became very close to him. Like they never got married, but I still think of him as like he was my stepdad.
That's awesome. I feel like I had to fight very much for like any time alone.
Yeah.
And that she was just very love bombed, and it was there was a lot of like things happening at that time.
That's hard.
But I feel like it was just very hard.
So maybe that's one of the reasons why it was never an option for you to be like a stepmom, because you had a bad experience with it. Yeah.
But also I feel like there's something, I don't know, I feel like because I had such a negative overarching kind of relationship with my mom that was very toxic. Mm-hmm. So I can like rewrite that and like be that mom that I really wanted to have.
But you're, regardless of what sex your child is, you're breaking the cycle no matter what. By being a present parent. You're an extremely present parent. You're gonna make me cry. I'm gonna cry. You're an extremely present and like such a like loving and open, and you are so authentically you. And I do truly believe that what kids care about, and I saw this thing the other day and it reminded me of you. It was like this child psychologist, and she was saying kids don't learn by how you treat them. They learn by how you treat yourself.
Yeah, by modeling everything.
100%. And so it's like, I think because you are being so authentic to who you are and doing all the things that you want and like really loving yourself, and you and Adam are really like firm in that.
Yeah.
That it allows your children to fully feel that. And I think I always said to my friends, as long as I can remember, I said like, your kid is going to benefit more from you being happy than you pretending 100%. To be happy,
or feeling that you have to do things, right? Yes. To be a good mom, I need to be there,
or be married, or be whatever. All these different things. I truly think like my mom deciding not to be with my dad, or my dad deciding my parents getting divorced was like, I personally believe, I don't know whether or not my sister believes this, but I believe that it was like the best thing.
Yeah.
Because they could authentically be happy.
Yeah.
And so I got to see happiness.
Well, and then it also like, it multiplies, right? So then it brought other people in your life. I mean, it brought your sisters, your brother to your life. Like, love keeps amplifying whenever it keeps coming from love as well.
Yeah.
I do think that there's an element of learning, and then now you're able to like apply. Like, if you think that there's like 3 key things that you're like, as a stepchild, these are the key things that I would have wanted or want to give as a stepchild, like from the stepfather. No.
Yes, I know what you mean. Sense? Yes, what you're saying is, what are like 3 key things that you can like do for that child to make them? Yes. I think 1, it's it's genuine attention.
Yeah.
It's so important to me to not just be paying attention to her because she's in the room, but paying attention to her and listening and actively listening and paying attention to her because I actually care.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't connect well with children and you haven't, like, just pay attention to them. Honestly, you will realize they're such interesting humans. Kids are such interesting humans.
Yeah.
I think genuine attention. I think intention, like being intentional with how you are interacting with them.
What does that mean?
So I think it's more like, you know, not just the attention thing, but intentionally, like, you know, spending time with them, doing the things that they like, not just being like, how was school?
Yeah.
Kids, by the way, I've learned, hate that question. You know, it's boring.
Yeah.
It's like a boring question. They're like, you know, I was in school all day. I mean, it's just
like, how was the office?
Yes, well, exactly.
Not great.
Exactly. Like, who wants to be asked about that stuff? It's like learning what they like.
Yep.
And trying to implement that in how you interact with them.
Yeah.
And then also having the utmost respect for their biological parents.
Yeah.
You know, I have the full and total respect. I have full and total respect for her mom.
Yeah.
And obviously for Ross. But you know, I have like so much respect for her, and I feel like that is important regardless of the dynamics of what, you know, as her mother. Yeah. I have a lot of respect, and I feel like that's also important, respecting boundaries, respecting that they're going to be the authorities in parenting.
Yeah, your support system.
I'm uplifting whatever she and he want for her.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. I don't get to come in and make the rules. I just get to uphold and be around and like make sure that her life when she's with us is stable around what she gets in her home, no matter where she is.
But then going back to like that whole idea of like people thinking that it's selfish.
I know.
It's just so selfless, right? Because I think that when you have a kid, there's a lot of narcissism that comes into it, right? Like, I want my kid to be that way or this way, and like your kids are a reflection of you, and because they're a reflection of you, I want my kid to go to Stanford. I think that when you get to be a stepmom, like the old stepmom, kind of like what you're saying right now, it's very selfless. Because I'm like, I'm just here to amplify and uplift and whatever it is that they want.
That's what I do in my life anyway. So, and it's funny because I've heard this thing that it's selfish. I don't really know.
That's how it's perceived.
Yes.
That perception.
But I don't really understand this perception, to be totally honest. I've heard it, but I don't really understand where it comes from. Do you understand it?
Well, the perception is, I don't have to agree with
so
it.
You're like not.
But the perception is that we need more humans to survive in the world. Like, they need to be paid taxes later, so then the old people can retire.
Is that really the thought?
As far as the system is made for people to continue having kids that are gonna be paying taxes for you to be able to retire. Like, I mean, it's just.
So then, I think it's actually. I think that's selfish.
But right now we're actually at a deficit of like human beings.
Oh no, I know. Yeah.
So I think it's also this idea of like,
to who? Who, like,
to the country, right?
Yeah, we have a negative birth rate, but like, what does that even mean? Because the world is still continuing to make children. Like, all over the world, there are other countries that have a positive birth rate.
Oh,
but
it has to be the poorer countries too,
but
right? Sadly.
Not always. There are a lot of places, like Australia used to have a negative birth rate, and then they gave them all sorts of benefits to having children. Actual benefits, like, we are going to help pay for this. We are going to take care. Like, you do not have to pay for birthing,
which seems like such a like insane thing, right? Because it's not even free. But how about you make families a priority in the country before you start blaming it? It always goes, women are the default burden in society somehow, but they're the only ones that are trying to do whatever they can. It's so expensive to have a child.
Yes.
And there is obviously zero protection and zero help with the government in any way, shape, or form in America. So you're telling women that they're supposed to be forced to have kids. Great. So is there any, like, are you helping with childcare? Are you helping with healthcare? Like, how can you help me so I keep...
The education system is shit. So it's like, in what way do you think that you are making it, like, advantageous for me to have a child? It's not. It's in no way advantageous for me to have a child.
It's the opposite.
I think it would be amazing to bring a child into this world that, you know, could have all the things, but they're never going to have the life that I had. That's just not a reality anymore.
Because it doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't, exactly. So like what benefits besides having a child am I getting out of it? And I feel like when I'm in the place where it's like, okay, my stepdaughter is a few years away from going to college.
Yeah.
I can take our, you know, 2-income household and go wherever I want in the world.
Whenever
I want and travel and whatever, you know, like, I think it would be much more of a benefit if I knew that I wasn't going to have to spend, you know, $500,000.
Yeah. On to graduate even to begin with. I mean, pre-K is like 30K. It's mind blowing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So it's like, and again, that can be seen as selfish. But really, I feel like now, realistically, I have more time to give to my community. I have more time to give to others. I have more time to give to, you know, people who are suffering.
Yeah.
And for me, I feel like I could choose to have another child in my life, or I can choose to redirect all of that attention and energy.
I mean, like attention is energy.
Attention, exactly. Attention, energy to other people who probably need it more than my like need to have a baby.
It's also crazy because I feel like if we are saying this in a position of privilege, the reality for most people is just so immensely different than with it. You know what I mean?
Well, also at this point, am I going to have a child, or am I going to have like exercise my choice when I have a choice, while I have a choice?
Yeah. I obviously know your fiance, and he is a very normal, loving person, and I'm sure he has a loving, normal family. Yeah. It's a lot to date you. And not to date you as a personal you.
Me as a person.
Like, but I've known you for like, you know, whatever, 10, 15 years, whatever, probably longer. But I feel like in the last 4 years, it's become very heavy to even like vocally even be your friend.
How is he dealing with it?
How's he dealing with it? How is she dealing with it?
Yeah, well,
how are you dealing with it? Like,
she doesn't know. I don't think she...
Like kids in school don't say anything?
No. I mean, he doesn't have social media.
Yeah.
I don't think she's going around, like, telling people who I am.
I just don't know.
It may become a thing as she gets older and she's more exposed. She just got a phone and doesn't have any access, like, to anything.
Yeah.
So she doesn't have any concept. She obviously knows I'm Palestinian.
Yeah.
She, you know, she knows that I give speeches places. She knows that I model. She knows that I think she has a slight grasp on my family being famous or whatever. I think she's too young. And I'm pretty sure that she hasn't like had that conversation. I mean, I'm out, like I go to things for her, but I haven't had anyone say anything
at all.
No. And I don't think that I'm sure she would have said something if something had happened. For him, I think I explained to him kind of pretty early on that this was like a thing for me.
Yeah.
And he just kind of wanted to learn more, which I thought was amazing and commendable. And as things have come, like I've had the conversation with him, like, how do you feel about this? How are you processing? And he knows what I'm doing is right.
Yeah.
So he's never going to stop me from doing it.
No, of course not. But like, I think that is also...
But I do think about how it affects her. Like, I don't wear certain clothes or
when you go to a school function or something.
Or when even when I'm walking around with her on the street, you know, like I am a bit more, I'm very protective.
Yeah.
And of course, like, you know, she didn't choose for me to be her stepmother.
Yeah.
And I'm not her biological mother, and I'm not her biological parent. And so it's not, again, that's like not a choice that I can put on her. So I remove that kind of element when I'm around her.
Have you had at any point anyone, whenever you were not with her, but when you were wearing something?
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure.
People just say things?
Oh, I had a woman at, I was at a restaurant or whatever, and she was walking with her kids, and she like coughed on me. And I was like, that's such a weird thing to do. And then she like turned around and like said something.
Yeah.
I've had people like scream at me. I've had all sorts of stuff. Yeah.
I mean,
I was doxxed.
I just didn't know if it was like walking on this, or if it's just more targeted on like social media. Because people are
I was doxxed. Like my phone number, my address, it was all on the internet. So yeah,
it's just so crazy to me because
that's all different now. So I can't find it.
No, but it's so crazy because like, I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what you fall in like your political belief, we live in America and we are supposed to be able to express our opinions. You know,
that's a good joke.
That's an insult to me. Okay,
I mean, that's how it's sold to all of us,
right?
That is a tenet of like when you grow up.
It's a pillar of American culture. It's like freedom.
Yeah.
Like, so it's just very weird to me.
And by the way, like, I think it's important because a lot of people are having the conversation now about how free speech is being like stripped away. It's been being stripped away. It's only been free speech, I think, when you're saying
what they want you to say.
And sometimes when you're saying what they want you to say, which is hate speech.
Yeah.
Like, the hate speech, the reason why people protect the hate speech is because the hate speech is what they want you to say. So I feel like unless you're doing something that like directly contradicts everything that they're saying, then that's the only time when the idea of free speech is ripped away.
Yeah.
And so this has been happening for a long time. Like, I think people are like, oh, well, they're painting these people as terrorists and whatever. I'm like, Nelson Mandela was on the terrorist list till like, I think it was like 2007 or something. It's like wild. It might have been 1997. No, it was 2007. 2007 was when I believe, I might be wrong on the dates, but around that time was when Nelson Mandela was taken off the terrorist list. Like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, in what world?
Yeah. I just think America is so good at marketing. Because, you know, I'm from Peru. So, like, even coming here, I was sold very much this idea, which is everything that the movies. Yeah. And the movies were the main social media at the time, right? And then you had, like, well, now people have different opinions on, like, social media. And then you're seeing how everyone is talking about the Republican Party, all the influencers for the Republican Party and all that stuff. But at the beginning, it was just movies. Yeah. Because that's how they infiltrated to, like, Peru and, like, everyone in the world to tell us, America is the best country in the world, and you're free. And I grew up in a country where at the time it wasn't free. Yeah. And I've seen that affect my family. So I was so scared to like talk publicly about things in Peru. I was like, I'm gonna go to America where you can just be whoever you want to be.
I mean, that's a cute thing. Well, the CIA literally had a Hollywood office to work with what? Yeah. The CIA, I mean, all the government organizations have Hollywood offices to work and they work with. So does the police departments, and that's, you know, all of these things that you see where they're like the army has one like, to make them look like heroes and whatever. They work with. But yeah, the CIA had a Hollywood office, and I don't even know if it was like a actual physical office, but they had, you know, agents that worked on Hollywood sets, on movie sets, in order to make. One of the ones that they worked on, which was so ironic, was Meet the Fockers, because he was like a CIA agent, the dad. Oh. And apparently there was like all sorts of like the set design for his like underground lair or whatever that he had like under his like RV or whatever had like some stuff in it that they had put in, and the CIA like changed it around to make it more
cohesive to the story they wanted to tell.
Exactly.
Wow.
I mean, to that level, like, if you want to understand the coercion that we are underneath at all given times, then like understand that something as minute as like a photo in a fake CIA lair underneath an RV in a movie about, you know, a guy meeting his wife's parents or whatever, his girlfriend's parents, like that they changed the set to make the CIA, and that's the point. It's like when you see when we have this preconceived notion of like heroes and villains and whatever, and it's all been formulated and narrated by it's not screenplay writers, it's our actual government is involved in that. And I found like that people think that's like conspiracy theorists, but that's the reality. Is like they're narrating to you what they want you to know.
Well, it's like one of branding, right? Repetition.
Yeah.
You need to repeat the same story so everyone has one perspective of that story, which is also what has been happening, obviously, in Hollywood for such a long time. And that's what I think is so, I mean, the work that you're doing with Watermelon Productions is so incredible and is so needed.
Thank you.
The role of media is to showcase all different stories of the whole spectrum, right? I'm not like saying one story versus the other. All stories are valid, and all of our experiences are valid and should be showcased in like some degree. Tell us a little bit, like, what is your role there?
I'm the creative director.
Okay.
So
what does that mean?
Yeah.
People that don't know what that means.
So, everything from when the inception of the brand, helping with branding, the brand voice, and down to like when we have films coming out, like, kind of what the look and feel of the marketing, the everything from the poster to the music to the trailer. I'm not necessarily doing it. I'm helping to curate it.
Yeah, the vision.
Exactly. And to make sure that it's in line with, the rest of the things that we're doing. And then, I work on specific films.
Do you have a say in like what the films, what is the ethos for like people that maybe don't know what you guys stand for?
Watermelon Pictures, the idea behind it, obviously, it's a Palestinian-led company, but the idea was to amplify marginalized voices.
Yep.
We're not the first to ever do it, but the Ali brothers who started Watermelon Pictures, their father and uncle started one of the first distribution companies out of Chicago in 1976. So they were literally like biking reel to reels, and they have like a huge archive. They've been around for a while. They also have, other kind of sister labels underneath them that they do like horror films. And I think they also for a long time just realized that there was a lot of voices that just were not being heard.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of films that had been being made, and then they would get distribution, and then that distribution company would bury the film. They just wouldn't give it distribution. And when the terms of the distribution model now are really, I mean, they're pretty set in stone, but they're really insane, because if I give you distribution to my film, you get it for like 10 or 15 years. So if you don't do anything with it, there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, so you can literally just buy movies to like, because it's cheaper with the aftermath. Yeah,
exactly. So they would do that. So our kind of concept was like to make sure that not only were we producing films and making sure that those, screenplay writers, that those directors had a platform and there was representation, but also that these films that had been buried for so long actually got to see the light of day, because they're just super important. And we're not just doing Palestinian films. It's really about like the depth and breadth of marginalized voices. So, we have films coming out about Sudan. We have, films about the encampments. So, we're just trying to make sure that people are seeing all of the things. Representation is important, and being able to allow a generation to see themselves in these positions allows them to actually dream, and especially for Palestinians. I mean, it's hard. Palestinians have really never been able to see themselves win. And so, And so, like, for us to put them in the situation to make Palestinians the hero, it's like important you're going to make.
I'm sorry. Like, it is. It's I want to make sure that like kids have dreams and hopes, and they can be anything they want to be. Mm-hmm. So when I keep like seeing all these images of all these kids that don't extend a chance, like, it is really like, I think as a parent, it breaks me for Palestinians, it breaks me for like anyone that is in that position. So I think on a human level, it's hard for me to know that there's people that don't stand a chance no matter where they come from, right? And I think that the humanity of it all was being lost in a lot of these conversations, because we're too obsessed with like taking sides and what's right and what's wrong, like from from a narcissistic perspective and like from an outlook and how the world is seeing us, and we're less concerned about like the actual human beings on the other end that are suffering on all sides, because no one is succeeding when there's that many people suffering. Like no one is.
No, and that's the thing. I mean, I always say when it comes to marginalized communities, the one thing that we all have in common is like our undying hope. You know, that's like the one thing they can't strip away from us is like, we are so hopeful. We're so ingrained in our hope for, you know, freedom and liberation and equality and equity and inclusion and all of these things that are so important and necessary for like a thriving world. And I think anything that we can do that allows younger people to feel that hope, to see that hope, to like, for that to be a subconscious reminder that there are places for them. I think that's kind of why like my family specifically has been like such a large target for, you know, people, because we are like icons of hope. Like, look at these girls who are half Palestinian and their father was 100% Palestinian, and look what he did with his life. Look what they did with their lives. Look at, you know, my brother, what he's done with his life. We're half Palestinian, and like, we are like something that they can aspire to. And aspiration will let you do a lot of things. If you feel like you are being represented and that you could possibly do something, you will like really work hard to do it.
Will give you a chance to win.
Well, also, Palestinians are extremely educated. This is something that not a lot of people know. We have in Gaza, I think alone, there is a 97% literacy rate.
Wow. I had
which
that,
is,
to be honest,
like
unheard of,
especially for a refugee population. And Palestinians in general are some of the highest educated people in the world. They have some of the highest levels of percentages of secondary degrees. There are like more doctors, and that's why you're always hearing doctors and journalists and engineers and architects and, you know, just like lawyers that are Palestinian, like throughout the diaspora, but also in Palestine. And like, imagine you're basically like, you only have maybe 8 hours of electricity a day, and yet you're getting your master's degree or your doctorate. That's what I'm saying. So imagine what we could do if we were allowed to live. Yes. 100. And that's a very scary thought for people who don't want us to have any power, because we're extremely well educated and there's a lot of hope for that. So I mean, my mom worked in a school in Nablus, and she talks to the teachers there all the time. And my mom is Irish. She's not Palestinian. But she was saying that, you know, one of the things that the teachers are always trying to do with the kids is like show them things they can be hopeful for, you know, so that they can have something that they can like dream about and know that they can accomplish, instead of just showing them like other people. They show them Palestinians who are doing big things, because it's important for them to be represented in that way. And I think that's true for everyone.
I admire you a lot, and I think I have a whole new admiration for you as a friend after all of this, because at the end of the day, you don't have to do it, right? Like, I mean,
I do though. But
no, but I mean, from an optic of like,
no, I'm saying
you had all the things. You're not doing this to like.
Oh, people think that I'm doing this to get famous. And
like,
I'm like, ha.
I mean, so many like deals that you even lost, and like all the influencer deals that you lost because of it. You don't have to, right? Like your sisters definitely don't have to. Your dad really doesn't have to. So the thinking outside of yourself and like kind of like, you know, having kids for me has a lot to do with like legacy. And it has to do with like, how can we make it better for them, whether your kids or other people's kids, just the kids in the world. And all of a sudden all the kids become yours in a way, because it like, you know, brings that up. And I think that giving these kids hope, it's really all you can do. And it's so selfless. Go back to like the selfish thing, but it is so selfless, because you could be chilling at the end of the fucking day in a nice fucking mansion somewhere, like, sunbathing and going to like.
That would be really nice. Yeah.
You could choose to do that because
100%.
you could. That could be a choice that you make, and you're choosing to like literally be drunk on the mud, like, you know what I mean? So whatever your beliefs are, and it's just so against me and like everything that like.
It makes you kind of question the world, and you're like, what? Like, how come? It's the same reason why we're like, I find it so insane that like there are people out there who spew hateful rhetoric, and those people make money. They're doing well. They're, they have great investments. They have good lives. They're, they're traveling, whatever. Yeah. And then like people like teachers who give their life to the education of our youth are paid nothing, have no benefits, are constantly being laid off, are constantly losing their jobs, are never getting their accolades, or once in a while someone is giving them something. And I just think, the world, we could do better, and we should be doing better. And maybe that's
doing better. And I think like I think what America is doing so wrong, and like, excuse me, like I'm saying America because I really don't see it with my friends in Europe, and I really don't see it with my friends elsewhere. We're all having these insular conversations in pockets, and it's become so toxic to have conversations with people that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't have to agree with everything you say. You don't have to agree with the way I do things. We are friends. We should be able to have a conversation, learn from each other. What we agree with, we agree with. What we don't. And then we're still able to like go have dinner together. And like,
it depends on, for me, it depends on what we disagree on.
Oh, I mean, sure.
Yes.
Sure.
I'm like, I can disagree with you on like policy issues.
Yeah.
But I can't disagree with you on who deserves rights. If you disagree with me on who deserves rights, I can't have dinner with you.
Yeah.
I'm like,
fair.
You can buy me a drink in a bar, but then I'm leaving.
Yeah. Fair.
Like, just that's my own feeling. Right. Yeah. I feel like there are a lot of people who feel, and I do think
I also feel that way because in this specific conversation, I have no skin in the game. At the end of the day, I'm freaking Catholic and freaking perfect, right? So I care.
But you do have skin in the game. Because
we all do.
Because we all do. Because when I think that you've understood something that we've been screaming at the world for so long.
Yeah.
Which is that none of us are free until everyone is free. Yeah. And the reality is that like no child is safe unless all the children are safe. Yeah. And those are things that are like inherently understood by people who have had any brush with oppression.
Yeah.
Understand that just intrinsically.
Yeah.
It's the reason why there's so much solidarity between, oppressed groups.
Yeah.
Is because they all, at a very base level, understand that humanity requires us to understand that none of us get, like, you're not an ally to me. You are part of the struggle with me because you are a human and I am a human.
And we're cohabiting at the same time.
Exactly. And I think that's the difference. And I wish more people understood that. Like, in protecting kids in Gaza, I'm striving to protect all children.
Or Sudan.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what I mean? There's
Congo, America. In America.
Well, What's next for Alana?
I'm writing 2 books. So I'll be an author.
What?
Yeah.
On what?
Oh, on Palestine.
Okay.
One is about fashion, and one is just about Palestine.
Okay. Like the history.
It's a book as part of a series of books about the Palestinian American story.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, really excited. I'm writing it with my friend Janine. And what else am I doing? I mean, I have a podcast.
It's coming out?
Yeah, it's coming out.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's called The Seeds.
What's the podcast about?
It's just having conversations with people who I think are, having an influence on the world, and just having authentic conversations with them. Fun, funny, deep, vulnerable, but, just highlighting people who I think are making an impact on the world.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was fun. I love you. You're the best.